Teach-U is played with a normal deck of cards, almost. There are 52 cards in the deck, plus 4 special cards. The cards are labeled 2 through ace in 4 different sets. Is that okay? Don't worry about it? All right, so we've got 2 through ace in 4 special sets. We've got stars, pagodas, something that looks like olives, which is probably gems of some sort, and swords. So instead of clubs, hearts, diamonds, and spades as of regular. The 4 special cards in Teach-U are the phoenix, the dog, the dragon, and the mahjong, which we normally call the bird card. So one of the reasons Teach-U is such a good card game is because it's a partnership game like bridge, and it's played in couples. So you have one couple sitting east-west and one couple sitting north-south, and you work in partners in order to accomplish the game, to win the game. The object of Teach-U is to be the first partnership that scores 1,000 points. Generally speaking, there are 3 ways to score points in Teach-U. The first way to score points is to go out first. That is, each round of the gameplay is played similar to hearts or any other rummy game, where every player plays 1 card, and then the person with the highest card for that round takes the trick. The object on each round is to go out first, and whoever goes out first is at an advantage. If you and your partner goes out first, then you get 200 points, and you get all the points for that trick in a round. So going out first is the best way to get points in Teach-U. The second way to get points in Teach-U is to collect the fives, the 10s, and the kings. The 5s are worth 5 points apiece, the 10s are worth 10 points apiece, and the kings are worth 10 points apiece too. There are 2 other cards in Teach-U that are worth points, which is the dragon and the phoenix, which are 2 of the special cards. The dragon, I think it's worth 25 positive points, and the phoenix is worth 25 negative points, so those cancel out between each other. I think that's kind of a finer point, actually, to try to worry about the 5s, 10s, and kings and the phoenix and dragon on anybody that's trying to play the game for the first time. Really, you want to concentrate on going out first. That's very important. Going out first is especially important because of the third way to get points, which is to call a small Teach-U or a large Teach-U, which is, as you're dealing the cards out, you can bet whether you'll be the first person to go out in that round. And the first person to go out in that round, if you called a small Teach-U, gets an additional 100 points. What you're doing is you're wagering 100 points on whether you'll be the first person to go out that round. So if you say, small Teach-U, I'm betting I'm going to go out first this round, and you make that, your partnership is going to get 100 extra points. If you call a small Teach-U, however, and you don't go out first that round, then you'll lose 100 points for your partnership, even if you get all the other points of the round. So it's just a bet, basically, of 100 points one way or the other, whether you will be the first person to go out in that round. And either you or your partner could call that. There's also something called a large Teach-U, which is a more complicated bet, and it's a swing of 200 points. What you have to do is to call a large Teach-U before you take your 9th card. That is, when you only look at 8 cards in your hand, you have to declare that you're going to be the first person to go out that round, which is much more difficult to do than if you have all 14 cards in your hand. The rewards are greater, but it's a higher risk, basically. So if you're willing to make that 200-point bet, with only 8 cards in your hand, you can do that, which is sometimes good if you're down 400 points after you've been playing for a while. But it's a difficult thing to do. I personally don't think I have ever done it, and I've only seen it done a couple of times. So the general gameplay of Teach-U is as follows. What you're going to do is you're going to shuffle the cards, somebody can cut, and then you deal out all 56 cards, which is going to mean every player has 14 cards in their hand. Because of the large Teach-U bet, you only want to look at the first 8 cards in your hand, and then decide if you wanted to make a large Teach-U bet, and then you pick up the rest of the cards in your hand after they've been dealt. You can make the small Teach-U bet at any time before you actually play your first card. So you can wait. You can either do it right away, or you can wait until the very end, even after other 3 players at the table have played their first card, before you make that small Teach-U bet, saying that you're going to be the one to go out first.
Can more than one person make a Teach-U bet?
Yes, more than one person can make a teach you bet, and I imagine that all 4 people at the table could make a teach you bet. As a point of strategy though, once your partner makes a bet saying that they're going to be the one to go out first, you don't want to also be the one to say you're going to go out, because that's you'll be working at cross purposes the whole game. Much like bridge or any other partnership games, it's very important to work with your partner to try to either go out first or to try to stop the other team from going out first every round. So once all the cards have been dealt out, you're going to have 14 cards in your hand, and then you have to do what's called the push in teach you, which means it's much like hearts, where you give 3 cards to the person on your left, then the person on your right, and then across the table from you. In teach you, you take 3 cards, and you give 1 card each to the player on your left, the player on your right, and the player across the table from you. So you'll end up giving either a good card or a bad card to your partner, who also trades a card with you, and then you'll give a partner bad cards, hopefully, to your opponents on either side of you. The convention is something like you'll want to give I think it's an even card to your left and an odd card to your right, although it could be the other way around, and I apologize for that. I think the convention in passing is that you want to give an even card to your left and an odd card to your right, and that's so both you and your partner don't pass the same card to the same opponent, because in teach you want to have, it's good to have basically poker hands. You would want to have pairs are good, 3 of a kind is good. So if both of you and your partner pass a 2 to one opponent on your left hand side, that actually helps them. So you'd much rather pass the opponent on your left a 2 and have your partner pass them a 3, for example. There's a lot of communication that can happen between you and your partner depending on what cards get passed across. If your partner passes you a really good card, it probably means they don't have a good hand, and if they pass you a really bad card, it means maybe that they do have a good hand and you ought to help them out more. So the person that gets dealt the mahjong card, which we also call the bird, is forced to lead. We used to think that the bird had to be led first, but since I've read the rules even for this sitting here at this camera today, the rules seem to indicate that the person with the mahjong card or with the bird card has to lead, but they don't actually have to lead the bird card. In your group, you may play it one way or the other. I think it might be a better rule that the player with the bird can lead, but they can lead whatever they want to lead. So when it comes time to lead a trick, you basically want to lead the poker hands, and the poker hands are a single card, so you can play 1-2 or 1-3 or 1 king, one single card. You can also play a pair of cards, just 2 2s, 2 5s, whatever. You can play 3 of a kinds, so 3 3s, 3 kings, 3 queens. The new thing for teach you is that you can play multiple sets of pairs, but they all have to be together. So in poker you could play 2 2s and 2 8s. In teach you can't. You have to play 2 2s and 2 3s, or 2 2s, 2 3s and 2 4s, or 2 5s, 2 6s and 2 7s all together, but not something like 2 6s and 2 8s. So if you play multiple pairs in a hand, and you can play as many as you have, they have to all be together and in a row. You can play straights in teach you, so any 5 card or better straight. So it's got to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or up to 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up. So, and that's all the way through ace, which is the highest card. So if you had a straight such as 7 all the way through ace, you could play it, and it would be a legal play in teach you. Full houses are acceptable, so 3 of one thing and 2 of another, and unlike the stair-step pairs, they don't have to be exactly right together. And I believe that the 3 of a kind is what's important for that. It's the dominant feature of that full house. All right, so the gameplay is that one player leads one of those kinds of poker hands, and everybody else around the table, clockwise, has to follow with either a higher derivation of that same poker hand, or they can pass. So if I play a single card and that card is a 2, then the player on my left, one of my opponents, has to play a single card that's going to be higher than that 2. So they could play 1-3, they could play something even higher, like a 1-8, or all the way up to 1 ace. And then it would go around the table clockwise, and every person would have to play higher than that, or they would pass. So a typical time around the table would be that I would play a 2, the opponent on my left would play a 3, my partner would play a 6, and on around, maybe a king here, and then I would have the ace, and I would play an ace on top of it. My opponent on the left would pass, my partner would pass, as a point of strategy, because it's always good to let your partner win tricks. So if I've got the ace on top of that, which is going to be the highest card, which means I win the trick, then my partner would probably pass even if she could beat it in order to let me take the trick. And then finally, my last opponent is also going to pass. So we've got, what, 6 or 7 cards in the middle of the table, and I've got the highest card on the table on that trick, and I would win that trick. So I would take all of those cards and I would lead the next round. So the next round, for example, could start with something not a single card. So I could play 3 of a kind to start it. I could play a straight to start it. Let's say I played a straight to start it. If I played 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as a straight, this opponent, for example, could pass. My partner would pass, and this opponent, let's say, has a higher straight, which would be like 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. And that would beat my straight, my original straight. So they would have the highest hand on the table and would end up taking that trick maybe. So no matter whether it's a single card, pairs, 3 of a kind, any of the poker hands, they can always be bettered by something else at the table. And whoever has the highest of those poker hands on top of the cards in the middle of the table at the end of that round will win that trick and lead the next hand. Some of the most fun you can have in Teach You, though, is when you're playing around with all of your partners and everybody has things on the table already. Let's say there's pairs that keep getting bigger and bigger. You can play out of turn in certain special circumstances. If you have an especially high poker hand, and the 2 poker hands that are especially useful in Teach You are 4 of a kind or a straight flush. That is at least 5 cards in a straight, all of the same suit. And if you have either of those 2 poker hands, they're called a bomb in Teach You. And they do, I guess, 2 special things. You can play them out of time, that is not on your turn, and they beat everything. So if you're holding 4 jacks in your hand, you may not want to break up those jacks to play them as part of smaller hands. You want to hang on to those until your opponent is about to win something, or you really need to win a particular hand. And you can throw those 4 jacks down on top of anything and declare a bomb, and you can celebrate and run around the table, and you will win that trick, and you get to marvel about it for a while. And you will win that trick unless somebody has a bigger bomb that can be played on top of it. And something I just read in the rules today that I didn't realize before is that a bigger bomb is a bomb that has more cards in it. So my bomb of 4 jacks could really only be beaten by a bomb that had 5 cards in it, like a straight flush, where it'd be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of all one suit. So that's a bigger bomb and will beat my bomb. A straight flush is all the same suit of cards, but just like a straight. So it'd be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all together, or 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King all together, but all the same suit. And remember, the suits in Teach You are different. It's not like clubs or diamonds or whatever. It's going to be swords and pagodas, just because it's an unusual deck of cards. All right, so since the object in Teach You is to go out first, the general gameplay is to play these tricks, and you want to go around the table and you want to win as many tricks as possible, and you also want to be getting rid of all your cards as much as you possibly can. So to play them all at one time is better with the bigger hands, but sometimes you're going to have to just get rid of those 2s and 3s by throwing them out as single cards. What's really helpful and makes Teach You especially interesting is that there are 4 special cards in the deck that can help you in various ways to go out first and score points. There's the Mahjong card, which we call the bird. There's the dragon card. There's the dog, and then there's the phoenix. Each of them has a special power, I guess you'd call it, and can also do something different if you get it in your hand. The first card is the bird. The most important feature of the bird is that whoever gets dealt this card or ends up with it after you could push it to your partner or one of your opponents is that will lead the game. So whoever gets dealt the Mahjong card leads the first trick of the round. And again, according to the rules, I think that you don't have to lead the bird card, but you can lead the bird card. It can also be led as part of one of your poker hands. So as it looks like on the card, it's a 1. So it could be part of a straight that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example. There is no other 1 in the deck, so obviously it couldn't be part of a pairs or a 3 of a kind or anything. The other special feature of the bird card is that Whoever plays the bird card gets to make what we call a wish or a request. And that request will be something like, I'll play this card and then I'll say, I wish for a 5 or I wish for a king, and you'll name a specific card. And then as play goes around the table to your left, clockwise, whoever has that card must play it if they can legally. So my opponent to my left would have to play a 5 if they could on top of the bird. So I would lead the bird as a 1 and the next person would have to play that 5. One of the things you specifically want to look for when you make a request is you either want to request point cards or you want to request cards that are going to mess up your opponent's stuff. So you could wish for an ace or a high card, or you could wish for something in the middle like a 7 or an 8. It just depends on kind of how you want to play it. But you can always request a card that you think your opponent will then have to play on top of it. The next card is the dragon card. And the dragon card is the highest single card in a Tichu deck. It doesn't get played as part of any poker hands. It can only be played on its own, but it beats anything. It's basically higher than an ace. So if a single card got led like a 2 and then it went 3, jack, queen, ace, then the dragon could be played on top of that in order to win the trick. The dragon is also worth 25 points in that trick. The puzzle with the dragon is whoever wins that trick has to give it immediately to their opponents. So when I play the dragon on top of a trick, I would collect those cards and immediately give it to somebody else, one of my opponents. The next card is the dog. And the dog has no point value. Its special power is that when it's led as the first card of a trick, the lead immediately passes across the table to your opponent, or to your partner, pardon me. So if I want my partner to take the lead and I have the dog card, I would play this first. And then my partner would have the lead for the rest of the trick. It's especially good to have if you want your partner to go out first. If your partner is called Tichu, small Tichu, or large Tichu, you want them to be leading the tricks as much as possible. Finally, there's the Phoenix card, and the Phoenix is the wild card. If it's played as a single card, this is a funky rule. It is the and a half card. So if we're going around the table with single cards, so I play a 2, and then my opponent plays a 3, and then my partner plays a 5. If it gets around to me and the last card played was a jack, for example, then the Phoenix on top of that would be a jack and a half. So it would be whatever was last played and a half, and then the next thing that could beat it would be the queen, obviously. Or if an 8 was the last thing played, then it'd be an 8 and a half, and the next thing that could beat it would be a 9. The Phoenix is more often played as a wild card, as part of a poker hand. So if you have, let's say, an almost straight flush, and you have the 10, jack, queen, and the ace of a specific suit, you can play the Phoenix as that king, I guess, to finish off your straight, or any other big hand. So if you have 2 3s and 2 8s and you want to make a full house out of that, then the Phoenix can be used in conjunction with those cards in order to make a full house out of it. So this is a very powerful card. The conundrum of the Phoenix card is that it's worth negative 25 points. So whoever ends up taking the trick with the Phoenix in it scores negative 25. So how do you judge whether you have a strong hand or not in Tichu? A part of why you're going to want to do that is learn to do that is because to make those bets early in the round of the small Tichu versus a large Tichu. I almost never make those bets. It's probably because I'm too conservative of a player, honestly, if I have to really admit it. But what do you want to look for in your hand? You want to look for high cards. So if you have all 4 aces and all 4 kings and then all 4 queens, that's probably a pretty good Tichu hand. If you have the Phoenix and the Dragon, that's also probably a pretty good Tichu hand. If you have a lot of 2s and 3s in your hand, well, that's not true exactly. If you have a lot of 2s and 3s in your hand, it's probably a pretty good Tichu hand. But if you have 1 2 and 1 3 and then a 5 and then a scraggly pair of 8s a couple of nines and no aces in your hand, that's not a good teacher hand. And the dog and the mahjong and the bird are probably not very powerful cards. You just can't do a lot with them. In fact, the dog is really good to have if you're trying to make your partner go out but not you. But generally what you want to look for is a lot of points in your hand, which means that the face cards and anything that's going to be four of a kind or very long straights means that you have a really good hand. If you have a really good hand right off the bat, remember to call teach you, or small teach you or large teach you. One of the points of strategy is that after your partner has made a bet of teach you, you want to make sure to help your partner in whatever way to go out first. So if your opponents are going to take a trick and you can play on top of that, always do, if possible, in order to take the trick and get it back around to your partner. If your opponents have called teach you, you want to make sure to stop them and play on top of that any way possible to make them stop them from getting tricks. So the thing that throws everybody off about teach you is the scoring of it. The object is still for you and your partner to get to 1,000 points before the opponents get to 1,000 points. At the end of the round, each individual round ends when only one person has cards remaining in their hand. So three of the other people have gone out in the round and you still got cards in your hand. That's when it ends. At that point, what will happen is you take all the cards remaining in your hand and you give them to your opponents. So if I was the last person with cards remaining in my hand, I would give them over to my opponent. The tricks that I'd already collected in my hand would go to whoever went out first in that round. So if my partner went out first in the round, then all the cards that I had scored previously would go to my partner. If, however, my opponents had gone out first in that round, or one of my opponents had been the first person to go out, then they would get all the tricks that I had already collected for that round. It's very important when you're and then each person takes whatever cards they have and adds it up. And that is, you add the dragon, the phoenix, the fives, the tens, and the kings to determine your score for that round, and you write it down on a piece of paper. It's very helpful to remember that all the points in a round total 100. So if your opponent scored 55 in the round, then you by definition scored 45 in a round. If you'd scored 90 in a round, then your opponent's got 10 in the round. On top of that, however, you always have to remember to count the small and large teach you bets, which are a swing of 100 points either way or 200 points either way for a large teach you. Normally the round ends when only one person has cards left in their hand. Under a special circumstance, the round can end when you and your partner or your two opponents have gone out. In other words, if you and your partner both go out first, so I go out first and my partner goes out next, the round immediately ends and you don't score that round. That partnership just scores 200 points while your opponent scores 0. So instead of the normal 100 points that's up for grabs from all the cards, you just score 200 points, or your opponent scores 200 points, and you don't have to worry about counting up the fives, tens, and kings. To tell you the truth, I don't know what it is that makes teach you so addictive and fun. But I remember wholeheartedly my brother telling me how much he and his wife enjoyed playing it, and then I've met lots of couples who enjoy playing it. I remember taking a bridge class way back when, and teach you for me feels a lot like bridge, and that there's a lot of nonverbal and subtle communication between you and your partner, and you're constantly thinking about, should I play here? What should I play? What's my partner trying to tell me? What are my opponents trying to tell each other during each individual round? And there's a lot of drama that unfolds in a hand, and I sound like such a dork saying that, but there's just a lot of communication between the partners, and a lot of different things that can go on between how you use the Phoenix as a wild card to the bombs, and really a lot of the dramatic tension unfolds because there's a lot of timing and determining when to make your play for it. In other words, when to try and go out. When you have a hand, most typically you'll have some high cards and some not so high cards, and you have to sort of decide and pick your moment on when to go out. In other words, I can win some of these tricks and some of these tricks I can't win, and now's my moment, and I'm going to try to play a bunch of my cards and then dump this final 2 that I've been carrying for a long time. If you miss your moment, you'll be stuck with that 2 until the end of the game, and you'll never get the lead again, and you can't play a 2 on top of anything else. I think one of the things that makes Teacher so fun is that you're always looking for a chance to make your run on going out. The most important thing for anybody who's a novice or a beginner in the game is to remember to try to go out first and to try to help your partner go out. And there's a lot of strategy to determine when to win your tricks and when to try to play your big cards to win the tricks instead of letting your opponent win them or letting your partner win them. If you miss your moment, you can be stuck with low cards and having no chance of going out for the rest of the game, and you'll watch helplessly while your opponents play all their good cards and never let you have the lead again. And there's just a lot of sense of timing in this game, which is one of the things that I really like about it.